Okay, so Alice, a really huge welcome to you. Welcome to Alice Notley, who is going to be reading for us from Paris tonight. It's the first time we have Alice to read for the Center for Poetry and Poetics at Sheffield. My name is Agnes Lehoczky, and I am running this event with Adam Piette, both working for the School of English at the University of Sheffield, for those who do not know us. And we co-direct the Center's series. So this is the final series for 2021. We're really honored to have Alice Notley here to read for this final event. The outline, the schedule for the evening is very simple. I'll introduce Alice in a second, after which Alice Notley will be reading for about 45 minutes non-stop without a break, after which I will ask a couple of, we'll open the evening for a reasonably short, Q&A session, and I'll kick off with a couple of questions, followed by Adam's questions, and we'd like to encourage you all to ask anything you want to from Alice, but we thought, Adam, so that it's easier to coordinate, if you could put your questions in the notes, and we'll read them out. Otherwise, otherwise it can cause a bit of an audio catastrophe. So let us start. Again, really warm welcome to Alice Notley tonight, who was born in Bisbee, Arizona on the 8th of November 1945 and grew up in Needles, California in the Mohave Desert. She was educated in the Needles public schools, at Barnard College, and at the Writers' Workshop at the University of Iowa. During the late 60s and early 70s, Alice lived a traveling poet's life in various places, really just a few to mention: San Francisco, London, and Chicago, before settling on New York's Lower East Side. For 16 years there, she was an important force in the eclectic second generation of the New York School of Poetry, though her work resists any period classification, if I may say that. In an interview somewhere sometime with the Kenyon Review, Alice Notley wrote, "I think I try with my poems to create a beginning space. I always seem to be erasing and starting over rather than picking up where I left off, even if I wind up taking up the same themes. This is probably one reason that I change form and style so much, out of a desire to find a new beginning, which is always the true beginning." In 1992, Alice Notley moved to Paris, France, and has remained there ever since, generally practicing no profession except for the writing, publication, and performing of her work, and the teaching of an occasional workshop here and there. I really would like to hear more about this. Notley is the author of more than 30 books of poetry. I'm going to mention a few here, including At Night, The States, or the double volume Close to Me and Closer, The Language of Heaven and Désamère, and How Spring Comes, which was a co-winner of the San Francisco Poetry Award. Her epic poem, The Descent of Alette, was published by Penguin in 1996, followed by Mysteries of Small Houses. That was a 1998 publication. This latter was one of the 3 finalists for the Pulitzer Prize and the winner of the Los Angeles Times Book Prize for Poetry. Alice Notley's long poem, Disobedience, which is a full collection again, won the Griffin International Prize in 2002. In 2005, the University of Michigan Press published the book of essays, her book of essays on poetry, coming after. Notley edited the collected poems of Ted Berrigan, a publication by the University of California Press, with her sons, Anselm and Edmund Berrigan, as co-editors. The three of them edited as well the selected poems of Ted Berrigan. Notley has also edited two volumes of poetry by the British poet Douglas Oliver. Her most recent books are Certain Magical Acts, Benediction, Songs and Stories of the Ghouls, and Grave of Light, New and Selected Poems. This latter was the winner of the Academy of American Poets Lenore Marshall Award. Notley has edited or co-edited 3 poetry journals over the years: Chicago, SCARLET, and Gare du Nord. She's also a collagist and cover artist. In 2015, she was awarded the Ruth Lilly Prize for Lifetime Achievement in Poetry. Alice Notley is one of America's greatest living poets, and not just America's by now. She has long written in narrative and epic and genre-bending modes to discover new ways to explore the nature of the self and the social and cultural importance of disobedience. Her work, somewhere I found this wonderful quote in her own words, is an immense act of rebellion against dominant social forces, against the fragmented forms of modern poetry, against the way a poem was or is supposed to look according to both past and contemporary practice. And I'm just going to finish off my introduction with a few lines from one of my favorite books by Alice's, which is from Disobedience. Language exists to make distinctions, as likewise do images. But there can be a personal reality which isn't divisive between words or frames. The rifts in the world cannot be healed with language. Though poetry modifies the divisiveness of words with light and fluidity, true self, raceless and sexless, burning through language's flows. I can't undo anything, this poem. Left a house again all night, packing up, leaving that house. All yours, Alice.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello. It's very damp here in Paris, and I'm not sure where my voice is exactly with regard to the dampness. I'm going to read 2 poems, first from Mysteries of Small Houses, to find out where my voice is. Then I'm going to read a bit from For the Ride, which is my most recent published book, and then I'm going to read some unpublished pages. This is the plan, and I cannot undo the plan because all the pieces are right here beside me. So I hope it works. Collage. Sometimes just to make something pretty, prettier than what's around in the mind to dominate. So there's first the sequin red or other. Remembering favorite paper dolls, a dress strapless sheath of blue sequins, at bottom a pink tulle flounce. Of course, I later hated that stuff. I mean, I like the one sparkle next to a piece of torn gold foil. This collage will be a ragged experience. I've never found beauty harmonious. It tears at our lack of harmony. You are the wound, says anyone to anyone. This infantile mob, this molesting song of yours, your individual getting rocks off feeling. But in the dime store's beauty, that's where. And there's meanly a lace of no doctrine or power to tie around the neck or wrist or thigh. Well, of course not. I'm lonely. Tie it for who? Tie it across the sky in its expansive provincialism, telling us the length of our eternities. Glue it to the sky of the paper. And I was Narcissus recess young, poignant enough to be something, that another element in the collage, and arrowed green line on the chewing gum wrapper. Youth was knowing before becoming, then being, interestingly hurt by becoming. So did girl know as much then, when less bent as now, being more bent and knowing, but she didn't know what I know. She's beauty, and I don't know. What am I? Add something else torn, but black cloth soft with hard and fake, a yellow topaz, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Because the best is always now, and some paint, my old gold ink, and diamond-like pieces of shattered car window, the really ruined world. I am a hardened heart. Sisters and mother who look like me. Then who is myself? Dream of us in white sequins in the house of a dying aunt, but it might be my old bedroom on Waveland. Crystals in a geode, frozen in meld in the center of a rock. I gave you a black dress and a vintage 40s red dress. John Ashbery had told me he wished he could wear it. I gave you a jasper brooch, an oval landscape mountain and cloud-like, reminds me of my unpublished poem, Inside the Smoky Quartz Crystal, in which the rock and I talk. Too much of a conjunction for conjunctions. You gave me driftwood, and you gave me lapis, and you gave me malachite, turquoise, and crystal. I gave you amethyst, jet, and amber. I gave Al amber, and I gave Daddy seashells, and also mixed stones. I was given citrines, and Kate gave me her citrines, and I was given topazes, jade, and pink and black coral. I call you up, and my voice startles you. You say, you sound like me. Can't talk about you the same way as the dead, or myself, or other poets, or airily American nation. Are or aren't similar kinds of stones, but stones are similar, binding the earth and sold in the universal way. Our universe is more rock and air, more geologic process than human or animal or vegetal. It's planets of rock and weather, to us, dead soil. Is that what most of what is? What is it doing? What is doing? I gave you stone. You give me stone. First geodes in 64. We share one of amethyst. You give my son's rock collections, trilobite, cinnabar, smithsonite. A matrix is a womb. I thought it was a rock bed. We've named a whole universe after humans. It probably names us after rocks, not after mothers or the short time before we harden. Al gave us sex rocks. Just another fucking rock. And amethysts, agates, and Apache tears, you gave her garnets, and you gave me sardonyx, and gave her a pearl and her opals. I gave myself a Madeira topaz and yellow jade and red crystal. You gave me rosy quartz, amber, and black glass. Okay, I have lost the picture. But perhaps, can you all hear me?
Yes, yeah, we can.
I can't see anything now. It's gone completely black. Okay, I am going to read from For the Ride. I'm going to read part of the chapter called Stark Star, which is towards the end. And For the Ride is a very peculiar book, and I usually have to explain something about it, but I've done it so much that I can't, I find it intolerable to do so anymore. But anyway, it's a long poem. It has characters and they talk funny. And there's an apocalypse. There's a voyage. There's a post-apocalypse voyage on an ark to another dimension. Language is in a state of change, both deliberate and chaotic. So you're going to hear a character speaking a language that is deliberate and chaotic. There's one pronoun, which is one, and the ones talk funny. And the protagonist, one, at this point has absorbed the other voyagers and entered what seems to be the afterlife, the actual afterlife after death, alone. So, and this person, this character one is thinking. This is kind of like a soliloquy. Stark star. How did one get here? Don't matter. But was a life? Who can care about that? Lot of time. No, it wasn't that. Isn't that now? Doesn't matter, does it? Has to matter, does it? Oh, one. Memory drifts, just a ribbon of it. Connections, what? It is a previous encounter between ones, compressed into a still exchange. Talking to my brother or my father. What of ones who took the journey arc-wise to sky's other dimensioning? One swallows them pastly, does one? Does each of them swallow one? Weren't real? Who is real? One is the only know of the known. One is not you, glib, but one is lib, of the lung. What, and yes, how doth one speak here? So, it isn't a meantime dance. One is the no to the past of pain, but that is all one has of it. Wanting the pain? It's winding around one, still, ribbony words of the core. It's all the nerves, la mémoire des réseaux, ignited, existent in no time. No, one is no to the memories press. Let them in, they're just fiery mages, that's images, words to help keep speaking. In this room, in room of the ones, all of the ones drifting, talking to, know how to do so, how? And if one dies, a babe, inarticulate, can one do so? Is one asking of who? Ask oneself, ask. Those are the rules? Bah oui. Babes can talk here telepathic. Oh, that's so glib. All at the same old time, same room, same time, all of the time. Don't have to talk, mentally thinking it. That's where one was all last night. It's just today. They keep talking to one. Father, brother, dead babes, the all, mimosa plants, and the mental of the rock. Vraiment? As per past of the vast, in the expansive tense, the universe hums. Neutral gears, flowing electric, one's wired spinal, hot threads and glints your nerves. Your real nerves are some one can see. Party of it's the biggest conflab. Blab, oh blab, one's a logician, one's vertebral with a hot brain on top. Nah, but images come and go where? We're always there. Optics are a part of. If one's here momentarily, it's the whole mome. Back to the human face, floating for one knows the best. One's here for good. Where? Where I'd see you again. As ones are it, says a someone, always in place, long goeth spiraling out. Out how far, says another one. The clauses don't need to be clipped, to be perioded. As one saying, emotion, what can that mean here, Sappho? That's a word, not name, or the ones. No to names here, glittering sea facets, uncovered. So boy, and the limbs, understand me, compounded ego. Want to be sure isn't here, but the words are. Can one follow strophic? No, it needs spiral out of here. The one can't hear, can. Let the ear attend. Cannot see the ear. Feel it's there. No one of old. Yes, one has known the thee, compound blazing star, word ablaze. Even a king can't eclipse thee of me. So ones are all equal in fire, verbal fire coursing through loins lired. Things. None of these things are with ones here in the wind, room of the gray gone clear. What's here's thine past presently glassed, do not want it. There's so much its details come and go like gray of the sea, old gray, green, blue, but unsorted now. They're unjudged. It's some other fact, not a fact. Isn't a shape of it. What was it? This then is the langue. Ça c'est le pot. Nothing else but in thy vie éternellement. It's what calls one. Voices calling to one's one from this the room of. One doesn't mean a metaphor, literal. Literal is what one's air. It's vrai. Right now, I'm literal. Here, dream. Does one think? One has dreams here. They're just themselves. More facets? Maybe. Nothing certain, but identity. Nameless individu. Langue. No struck, but never a structure either in life or l'amour. One is stupid to think so, to see. But everyone sees for me. No. What if one still can't accept it? Whatever one's being told. What the hell does one think ones are telling? That I'm part of your room. One is condemned, wandering lone else. But I do it. No social structure. This isn't a structure. It's the chaotic form. Ones are the anarchs. Words a chaos. One isn't ordered. Can't be. I always wanted to be here, or I always was present. I always wanted to be here where I'm always being, as one. Don't have to fit in or to be, denying own first premise. Want to be able to deny, denying. One can do it. Go away denying at the same time as you are here. Why the emphases? Why not? You are the light of my life. Won't say that, or won't ever say that it's another who is. Now what can happen? Oh, nothing. Creating a mome, chaotic, disorder, no lack, in the crisp drop where one's be, because are. Tell one's one created oneself. Nothing was created, silly. Nothing's created, nothing's organized, nothing's owned. Might want some, or why would one want? There are the tree-like words, opening like hands or like buds or like pods from what planet? If one isn't social, that's one's struggle. Is that impossible? One don't really mean that. Repetitive. Can't not be part of one's. Even resisting them. All keep talking. One's always listening. Aria. Compius, hailing me, zitherid, chaos's musician, obsessed, even dead, thou mega one epic poemer. Yes, one wants to sing master of death lyrics now, but I'm a mannish, ghostly one, lacking human parts. Thou art same, morove. To the tongue of the new spirit, go like a blackbird say, dissenting at your own, impedes you not. Remember, don't. Always know that opaque language is but one's being Cato. If you curse, chthonic, you just curse, make more dirt or air here. That's your basilisk gaze, pot of chaos girl, none just words. The wind, active clear, blows through, patho, logic, like goddess. Animals are not any, like they'd said. Words emanate from one as in a dark ancient style of night. Nox, warm and ambient. I died, but did I? Aren't I now here? Aren't I always in overlapping tenses or clauses, planes? One's talking while one's talking in two places alive or in a dream. Really, two conversations, even more. Am I various as settings overlap in closing words, mine delicate seashells? One's here and one's before the ark took off. One's also on the ark. Is one where the new lung is perfected, as well as in past lungs? These impressed might be it, the realest long. One could never be dead. There is no of dead. There is no clause that is silence for air, extinction of cosmos. Comment s'appelle these? But is there in here? Want to call something something, but one can't. Where be the things in this plane called to things? What can I name? There's nothing to speak of. The ones are all here though. Oh, there's no O, par exemple. Just O. One safe voice need know one's life or times, history as insects' time in the socialized cosmos of all civilizations a blip. Thou as stylized one of species blip too, but not as oneself. What, asks one, but both voices static, is the language of the all. Can't make out one's words, either of, black static, and one hears one's thoughts badly even. I can't hear me, my mind's gone. Not silent, but distorted. Not distortion, says the voice. Not a scale for, here, who's in me? One's shouting. It's just you, one. One's the only one in one's head. Thinking's changing for one. But the one can barely make out words. Thoughts overheard in one's mind, how one thinks, right? Intuits. One will no longer overhear. Little gap between thinking and being to be closed right now. One is whirling through what in cell, through medium, if there's that, space or time shit, in a small cell curled up in this sequence self. One's already gone somewhere, goes that is in the present. Moi, the one turns inside out and thinks at same time as thinking. The petite black sequin cannot stop thought as if thought were the all. Gone here, sposed with no gross body, tongue to babble, not there, no. Who thinks inside me pastly now I'm taking over for good. Smarty, like the first midnight store, but are no parts for lasting. Ring me this minute, I mean I, one is the ringer of tones. Chooser. I choose light for my mind. We choose it all of the time. You're not allowed to think for me. One choosing light in the dark. Does it come on if there's no sun? Yes, it's the thought, the white light. No one else has to think for one. One has the light in one's mind. Here are two shorter poems, and then I'm going to read two longer things. I need to know if you're there. I'm staring at a black screen.
Yes, we are.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're fine.
Will I be able to see you later?
Absolutely. We'll come back with the cameras.
Okay, thank you. Remaking our substance and form. When did I start? About 2009. I will in fact remake you. If I could have a mythical memory. I wish some of this art were from another planet. I remember the peaceful wooden Jesus's show at Cluny from about 1200 French or Spanish. He just seemed to sleep. I had a black coat as usual. I meet people at La Fontaine de Saint-Michel. I generally don't think about what all this as a pompous idea because I'm changing it to a porous, unlapidary course, freeing you from it as it shakes off freely your mind. These bodies accustomed as mine to absorbing human-made shock in the clothes we wear for it. Were you here on November 13th, 2015? I was trying to come back as if I lived here after 25 years. So if terrorists shoot up your neighborhood, destroying then after if, and keep walking without a conclusion in words, is there one in bodies? Is there a difference? Is there a difference between anything that we are? No one's anything, I meant that asleep I dreamed the real one in its colors. We were a form I saved from death by dismantling the very idea, exclamation point. I can't discover what I was ever doing. I enter this apartment and do nothing, emblazoned with a ruby. Le Maître du Désordre. There's so much I don't need to tell you. The detail is what you say it is. I hate that. I'd like to go to the Shaman show again. How do you pronounce it? I didn't think the curators knew much. I remember the small, gooey leg buds covered with muck. Always at crossroads, writing about that is that detail. It's the click-in of the words together. I flew away. I know how to take you through the curtain. I know how to help you die. How can you? How do you? I picked up the skill along the there is no way. There is no way anywhere. Come with me along the no way. I can't name anything from the show. There was a mask that opened into another mask. There was a magic outfit to wear of reindeer with hood fringe to hide from you my eyes. But I didn't help her. Maybe I did. Not that night at the ER in Bullhead. Or maybe I did, but the details are sacred and vanish. I'm calling to you if you want to come with me. I can break the spell this unreal world holds over you. I am covered with every detail that's necessary. One thing is an eye, and one is a pencil. These symbols on my coat and beads from my beloved mineral world. I'm taking you out of here. There was a place out of here. You didn't need sense possessed by your finally self. You didn't need to catalog what you considered to have happened. Only an idiot believes in this world. Modify nothing, ignore what is said. I'm there all the time now. Where? No curtains. You go back and forth. It's not so hard. Being is simply in touch with each other. You think everyone needs your help alive. You think. Think means be. A while goes by. Without drums, I was sitting. You might ask for direction or entrance. Asking is foolish if you're there. It isn't this world. I'm never in this world when I write, but there's so much I don't need to tell you. Okay. I have a book composed of 6 books. And the whole book is called the Speak Angel series. And it's going to be published sometime next year by Phonograph Editions. The book is 660 pages long. And I'm going to read 2 things from the first book, which is called The House Gone. In this book, the universe is being remade, even collaged, out of old stuff, sadnesses, and new grace particles. As I blah, blah, blah. I am leading everyone. In this book, I lead everyone, everything to the point of this remaking, the remaking of the cosmos into a new collage. As I said, there are 6 books within the book, and I'm going to read from the first book. The House Gone begins with a dream about my mother's death in 2012. So I'm going to read the very beginning, about 4 pages, and then I'm going to read something from the end of this first book that's also about 4 pages, and then that will be the reading, I believe. I have lost track of everything. Our words are what is, they say, what we make. They don't stand for the universe. What you see as much stands for them. Reality in the thicknesses, shimmery. We are in here and each presents a face, eyes closed, but is the only conscious there really is, I'm listening. I'll interpret for everyone, dead or alive, and make the words radiate. The story so thick with breaking up layers that you have to be in it, new-eyed, feeling your way. The winds, I forgot your story, you're going to overpower me. A mind is a wind, the ancestor of any mind who thinks it's contemporary. The body presses on you until you leave it, you're another body. All along, why was I there? It's the only way. The soul me, just me, torn out gold, and outside-it activity. We are all torn out gold. She lay on the bed, old, her hair in spangled braids. First, I couldn't find her, and I couldn't find who I was. You need a red one to get into the house of our identity, said someone. And who approved the secret, I asked. Later, no one knew it. Now, no one knows it at all. You need green or red rectangles to get into the house of knowledge. I am the house of knowledge, I say. Then put on more layers, someone else says, or they'll see how transparent you are. I am the one you think I am, and also another. The dying body lay in braids with her soul showing. I'm speaking in my own language, spangled with the breaking up of gold they come to get me. It's beautiful in death, it's substantial. People with jars of being, animals with eyes, rocks with identity. No one alive permitted to see until now. Would you like to know something? The first word to know in the secret language is soul. I'm your bond. The universe bound together, its parts speaking to each other. Denser than matter, any mind thrills to know the further mind I am, she says, lying on the bed. A darker woman sits beside her, my attendant, as I would attend you, dark and denser as a secret. The dead created the world when they were still dead. I'm frightened, don't be, you'll just be dead or alive. I'm impoverished, Mama, but you're okay and I'm dead, I'm okay. But it's part of my story still that I resisted money and the things. My knowledge is that now you have to speak for us. I'm still poor. You have to speak for us. You're our leader. You want to know how love's dangerous if it makes us or we make it. I'm sitting in a love-filled apartment I can't let go of. It's like the most luminous dots or molecules torn as a memory. Or when I loved you, was that a memory of something else, I say? Your love-torn leader, that is matter, as it came to be this shattered story, the broken specificity whose pieces a man could sell. I know how the universe began, he says, but I myself know it didn't. Walking through layer after layer of distraction in the picture. We the dead were and are, the dead walking this life. The warrior knows he can't forget he killed, but I know the exact beauty of my voice and then faltering. The tricks in my hands, Al says, were just guns. But I know this story, he says. Death is full of what I know. I came home and there was no one there anymore. Another story. The curse on our family shallow. I remember we have been taught curses. I could teach it to you if you want. Death is now full of what I know, each one says. Each molecule says, and the molecules of death. Each layer of the picture hides another, Daddy says. I like that. I say, can't remember a thing. How can I lead you write what you're writing? It's tall in here, though. I'm materially bodiless. I've already told all these stories. In death, we represent them. We can tell them for the first or last time again if we want, in our thoughts to each other, and they can change. In the story where we emerge, we are emerging from ourselves, as the dead are in a chordal stave of music no one composed. I am composing it, hitting random notes on the piano. There is no random, there is no chance event. Here is a piece of change, rather. When there was nothing, there was something, this future on earth. The knowledge we're interested in is our own composition, which we can't stop working on without clear understanding of or method. It floats secretively near that no one's in control of, but we all are and must make beautiful. I came home destroyed. We know your story already. You don't know how I feel and never will. You needed a red rectangle to enter. Here's an oval of evil you'll want. I, your leader, swallowing evil, which lights one up, but then you have to resist. You needed it, then have to resist it. You're trying to make me need you, the man says to me. But I am not that young. This will pass before my mind sometimes. When I'm dead, then I'm running. I can't come and drink with you. Yes, you're running from something specific, passing before my mind sometimes when I'm dead in the past or future. When you're dead, Dad says, a red rectangle is a visible idea. What is the secret, he asks again. What do you think it is? If we didn't need each other, we wouldn't be the universe. The secret is that I've always wanted to be alone because someone hurt me bad. Someone hurt me and isn't very smart either. All this talk is what it's like to be dead, he said. You still don't have our speech, though. You are our leader. Our language is quickly thought. I'm trying to get it fast. I know you are, he says. A story's faster here, too. One layer, he says, one smokescreen, one or two in my later life, but far back, the earliest one sometimes comes forward. My mother left the children by my father and took the other two away for a few months, left us. I'm someone forlorn like that, I say. I'm sometimes forlorn like that, I say. I think a piece of so-called unconscious matter can be bereft. It breaks, something else gets formed. It is by definition, the planet is bereft of what once belonged to it. They came back, he says. I don't really have to live it again. I'm just sad. That's part of everything luminous. I was out of the mist alone looking for a fiscal stamp. Do you go over it? Rue du Paradis has changed again. The Windows store is still there. 1 year I walked that street just trying to find, anyone I didn't know, perfectly alone and never did. In this line I'm shy. A thought leaves things out, he says. Will I be allowed dead to hold back your experience? Will fill our land as an atmosphere of shapes and unexpected words, what we're composed of, thinking. No one's more special. I am your leader. I need that little thought, another says, at the beginning of untime, when you know the future but have to play the stars crumbled up there mixed with water and mud. I came home, there was no one there but myself and the dead. This small planet containing many wars, fancying its economics to be of importance. Do the dead ever think about money? It was a form like a rectangle, money, and written down ordinary poems, not like this immense interchange of mental energy where you are leading us that I am already in. I took the metro, entered several stores, bought objects, and returned. In diurnal sense of time, as if I wasted, I floated outward. All of us kids would huddle under the covers together, Daddy says. One of us would fart, and we'd see who had to come up for air first. The dead don't fart, in case you wanted to know. And I went away to war, says anyone, and haven't gotten over it. And the universe we are shudders from its explosions and deaths of stars, its formal thoughts, the maintenance of its painful designs, its patterns as human minds see them. Each line should be as full of events as every forgotten day. I walk through the forest of colors, Al says fearfully, and I burn, for I'm dead and still traumatized. No one can kill me now, but I hope to change, though there's no time to change in. And then he changes, because this is chaos, a mellow state. I took the white rectangle from the cube and plugged it into the black one. These are the most transitory of objects. I hold up my fingered hands and compare mine to the fingers in the painting, more like fingers than mine. My hands are inhuman and old, like my experience. What forms there of any thought categories linger? One remembers all animals had eyes, but I'd see with my hands as well. Painting, someone says, in my thought, I send you a new red shape, like a console radio or armchair, rounded like a decade mulberry colored, not frontal, to the side, for more centrally there's space and it's green. I like the new picture, I say. There's paint and death, he says. The idea of it, tactility, was in the vaunted mentality. Oh yes, the secret, the own language, and the played out story. The secret's probably the language we are. What else would I be? No word special, though I'm your leader. Is that a secret? If you can't remember all of yesterday, the words for each microsecond, but then more, the memory, yours, bored and fatigued. How do you remember time and death? How do you remember brainlessly, opulently present to me, your leader? For I am Dux, never give up on this drawing us out of our dross. All the possible divisions of time. Oh, don't bore me. I am the universe. I mean this flatly serious. I am your leader. They could film every second. The they death persists in no line. So how do you organize this musical chaos as in words I know not always the meaning of? I am leading us to freedom, the only one with that power foreseen, for I would possess from the beginning, for it is not obvious. So now it is that you need someone to tell you who you are, the ever alive, the ever dead. You have tried to lose your souls, ever present, I say, soul to soul, in these words so like you as to be you. You never look at the right thing these days or read the signs. I am your leader. I can read them inside the dead mind, translated into these thoughts coincident with letters, my body or both bodies, yours reading or hearing in this sunlessness temporary, this Paris. And I will end with this poem, which comes much, much later, after much talk and many adventures. Victorious. Honey, leader, honey. From the lion's body I bring you a food or mental substance, a knowledge from the supposed realm of wordlessness, the opposite of me. Honey, leader, honey, your hair is growing around mirror shades. The only thing I see is a vibrant word. Is it a word if I know it? Flash, not reading it. Saying it without saying it with lips or brain, but being honey, you should see there's no one here but everyone. I wanted to forget them blindly when the world began again. My double honey, stark as a burnt tree when I spoke. Flash, and I saw how wrong everybody had been in the old times when all we created was decorative. If I might destroy the old you, I'm extracting power from which self in order to stand for a moment above you holding my bone club, my weapon of greeting. Hello, honey. You will not go on the way you have, your tone of voice silly and maudlin, pompous and demanding. You must now learn from this word wedge, your new art. Honey, as leader, honey, I am your mind leading. You can hear me when we stand counting nothing, not knowing numbers. Anyone forgot them to beg to be home. Here we are numb, for I've destroyed and rebirthed you, honey. You have nothing but this vibration. We are speaking almost silently. You have nothing but the opposite of what you were, this moltenness. None of you, my friend, but I've led you to your own heart. A place where no one has to know their words or counterparts anymore. Your stories were invented in dreams. Your eyes were full of unsubstantial legends you'd made up and attributed to the fabricated bastards, your heroes of millions. They were just you. I've ripped them out. Your soreness is freedom. Honey, leader, I'm and learning a language from which you can know all others. Only two native speakers left, I. And the I that has taken over now shows you the grid of renewal. It's a shaky grid, the cracked syntax of an earthquake. Honey, leader, it will slow down and flow like honey. After we agree to speak darkly or densely, honey, leader, grid. This language might tear you, but you're already torn. No overlay. All language comes from here. Find it at this time, clutching the damage we came from, its inner strings. I pull it apart and it refigures. I'm yours. What are your verbs and nouns? I am a conglomerate of anything. I speak for a joining of the already contiguous. I am how we cohere. Mind after death, pushing outward. Honey, lava. I am your leader, says the language, or I the quintillionth and first, I the verb, I the noun, the pronominals. My death, I, honey, leader, honey, calls out silently to other honey. The grid flows like aftermath. I didn't ask, says the universe, to be born. And death says, I may have asked to die, but I can't. And we, the dead, don't die, living on, speaking origin that you'd think of as grid, never been such. The part of speech is to join us in mentality. I am the serenest Samson you might know after I destroy us. Why does it begin in violence? Because you named it violence, but now you have no nervous system to hurt you. Honey, leader, honey, uncarved again with phantom pain. Today's my brother's birthday. Do I still remember everything? But it's my day, he says. I'm finally reborn, sis, honey. That's an aside, a double, a twin of telepathy. We have come to the fact of the solution, honey, leader. Unnamed shapes call out that we didn't know everything to see. Now we're inside the words we'd catch hold of. We have never heard of governance. I tell us, I, the leader, the Samson who judged us, sad and inept, trivial, washed up, smothered souls groping. You had to follow me past the store of limp spangled dresses, limp weapons. My cudgel is pure like a torch. My hair's like gray fire. Inside this honey flow, where the language is finding its nearly unfashioned form, its deeper hues. My brother's new piece, the source of our plan to go on. Leader, my shell is empty, or it's all stony dark green. The money was nothing, the clothes were vapid, the poems of others dimming in force. The money was nothing, a joke. All the money in the world a joke. The sorrow, real leader, honey, power's the only thing we are. An accumulation of first matter, hollow, electric, and calm. I know what it is I say. I know where we are and are going. We are rearranging origin, its glyph, and its home. We are rearranging the night plan. I, honey leader, honey, am calling reality now. It responds to me. We are calling you to us, I, at what was once fate, the body, but is now my own malleability, the light steering. Or is it something I would recognize, just who I am? I want you to see it inside the beginning in our composite meaning. As for the pre-beginning, honey, I pulled down the ceiling so we wouldn't have dimensions or scale. Then there was pure action in death, which is truth. I, honey and leader, am left on the river, but I have the boat. Whoever left me for trivia, but I have the boat or leadership, the honey songs beguiling you to start again, maintaining our connection. That is our universe. We are the power. We stand in pre-power, the whole thing before the shell body honey power. Wouldn't you like to act now for the sake of action, not knowing why? Without an accrued meaning, with words that don't drag leavage after them. I acted, honey, leader, honey, without any motive, for I was not enacted. And I arranged reality a certain way, that's all, with the hands of one of my bodies coincident in me. All night I arranged things without known names or shapes. Put on your ear-reeled shades, honey leader. Be opaque again. We are ready, everyone, everything here inside the connection. Last night you were with me because I was broken and good. And you say you are with me because I've got enough honey for you. Matter or mentality becoming words for anyone in any language or stillness. We are forming entities for each other. Here in the primal blast moltenness we have arrived at, hurt from prior eons, ready for the mind or dream that acts. I birth new forms, hopeless and free. Any rock has a new name. And I have one too, honey leader, honey. What shall we do together with these new minds and have accepted nothing, have not seen or heard it, haven't reacted, honey leader, haven't judged or been taught. We are making what we are, just that. That's my reading.
Thank you so much, Alice. That was absolutely wonderful. We've got this silly system of clapping, but I just would like to just normally...
I can't see you.
Can't you not?
No, it's all black. I've been reading to a black screen. And
Could you perhaps move your mouse?
I don't have a mouse, but I have my finger is on the silver rectangle, but nothing is happening.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
So I can't see you.
We can hear you, Alice, and we can see you if that reassures you. Are you happy to continue with the Q&A as this way?
Yes, I can do it. Does anyone have any suggestions though as to how I could make you?
The only thing I can suggest is you exit and return.
I don't know how to do that, so I'm not going to do it. I
think your screen just must have.
Hold on a second. I might be able to get back in. I just did something.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you so much. So absolutely wonderful reading, and thank you for reading from the new work as well. So as promised, if you're still happy with that, we'll have a few questions. I'll have a slightly more obscure or opaque one to start with, and towards the end I will ask something very pragmatic. But with the slightly more obscure question, which potentially is more like a reflection or a comment rather than a question, and maybe you might rightly say that's not your job to answer this, but I was wondering about knowing quite a few of your books and collections and also teaching from it to students about the lyric self. So our university building has been under blockade by students, so I don't have your other books in front of me. Only Culture of One, which in my head is called Culture of No One for some interesting reason. But the second opening poem goes as such: I'm mercy, I have no understanding of who I am, though with my 1,000 arms I have written of my own nature since writing began. I inhabit you, and you write about me again. And this collection, for those who are not familiar with it, is inspired by this character, Mary or Marie, who was apparently resided in your neighborhood in the dump outside the southwestern deserts of America, who then gradually becomes or morphs into the poet or artist speaker, almost as your speaker's double, as a sort of collaged from the events and the happenings in and around this dump, a kind of codex calligrapher, you say it's somewhere. But I also feel, knowing some of your other books like Disobedience or Mystery of Small Houses or Descent of Alette, this one character, for example, you have been reading about today for us, that as if it was the same character, just kind of constantly reinventing itself or herself or oneself from one book to the next, almost like these masks were, as you were also, I was reading from Disobedience in the beginning of this talk, where you're reading as these houses you kind of inhabit and then you abandon and then inhabit, sort of reinventions of a polyphonic, polysemic, but also polemic selfhood. I don't know if it's all nonsensical, what I'm suggesting, but would you be able to just maybe reflect on, not a question of it's not really a question, more like just an observation of mine. Am I on the right track when I approach this?
Oh, I think you're saying that that in each book I try to find a new voice, but obviously I'm the person writing the book. But I try to expand the voice, and I try to get it to change, because I like the way that feels. I like to feel as if I like to feel as if I'm having conversations with parts of the voice, and that they probably are real people. So, for example, in Culture of One, there's the author, myself, who's one of the voices, and I made a voice for this woman, Marie, who was essentially a bag lady who lived at the dump outside of town when I was growing up. And she wasn't an artist as far as I knew, but on the other hand, it seems to me that to be a bag lady, you have to be an artist, because you have all these possessions and you take them with you all the time. And she was like me. And there were these other people in Needles that were really freaks. And I was always afraid I would grow up to be one of them, and I have. That's what I know. I grew up to be Marie. And so this book is a tribute to her. And I grew up to be Herman, who was this really strange guy who came to town. He came to town on a freight train and got put in jail, and then he really liked living in Needles, and he couldn't do anything. He was totally damaged. And he had no education or anything, and he invented this profession for himself of being the night watchman. And he bought a child's cowboy outfit and a little badge, And he went around every night and checked everybody's doors. And if your door was unlocked, he'd call you up and say, the door of your business is unlocked. He was very useful. And I still dream about him because I've grown up to be him. I've invented my profession. and I tell people that their door's unlocked. But I try to get them to unlock the door, I think. I think that's all I have to say about that question. What do I do now?
Agnes seems to have lost. Maybe I can ask a question, if that's all right, Alice.
Sure.
The extraordinary powerful poetry and those dream visions just they just fill one with awe, and it's especially the way that you talk to the dead, as it were, or your voices are full of the dead, and as a kind of materially bodiless storytelling series of strange voices from beyond. But at the same time, what struck me was that you began with those beautiful poems about the stones, and the points in your reading where you talk about the planets of rock, the beloved mineral world, the mental of the rock. Just wondering what stones and rocks and that kind of geological side to your imagination. What's happening there?
I grew up in the desert. It's all there. There were rocks everywhere, and so as I was growing up, and then forever after, I was always trying to imagine what their place in everything was, and then I grew to know that most of the universe was like rock and air, and there were very few human beings and animals and even plants, that anyone knew about, but they just that there are rocks are there, and I love them, and I always have a rock shop. I have a rock shop in Paris. Oh, wow. I always have a store wherever I live where I can go buy rocks and buy jewelry. I bought this the other day at my rock shop. There's a rock shop in the building that the Louvre is in. It's called, there's like a mall there called the Carousel du Louvre, and there's a shop called Les Mineraux. And I go there a lot, enough to be on their list of people who get a discount. Every November when they have a sale, I got a 20% discount on this necklace. It's different kinds of tourmalines. And it makes me feel great to have it around my neck.
Fantastic.
Is that the kind of answer you wanted?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. I think rocks are spiritual.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And I think they're everywhere. And they're us, and we're them, and everything's connected. So
that's this dream of rocks with identity. It's a real thing, for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Aggie, have you got another?
Yeah. Sorry, I had to leave and come back because I got frozen. But Rob Stanton would like to ask a question.
Yes. I can't see you.
I don't know what happened there. Okay, no. I would like to ask about, because I have read several of your biographies in various journals, online and in physical journals, and each points out that this secret that you talked about in one of your poems, how to live on nothing else but poetry, is how to earn one's living on and from poetry is what I really personally would like to know too.
You want to know how I've stayed alive all this time?
Yes, exactly.
You're only the second person that's ever asked me that.
particularly now these days when sometimes the only way to survive is to get academic jobs. As you know, in England, a lot of writers like circulating around various universities. I think it's probably a little bit of the case in the US as
Yes,
well.
hello?
So yeah,
I missed part of what you said.
I was just also slightly in a more serious way of putting it. In the US or in the UK certainly, but I think it's a little bit like that in the US as well. I don't think it's very much of a case on the continent, coming from Hungary and Budapest, that writers now tend to circulate around various universities in order to earn a living.
I didn't want to do that, but and I don't know, I became so obsessed with learning how to be a poet, learning how to write a poem, and I couldn't let go of the obsession enough to earn money. And I was married to Ted Berrigan, and he was sort of an expert at living on nothing, although it was terrifying, and he ultimately died of doing this. But I mean, it was a very hard way to live. But I learned how to do it. I learned the kinds of things that you need to do in order to just live on almost nothing. You don't need very much. And it's another thing I learned from my childhood. My grandparents had almost nothing, and they lived fine. They lived fine. You just sort of forget about the future for long periods of time. And when you need to, and you borrow money from your friends. Some of my friends are on screen who lent me money.
Adam, will you remember this when?
You do it intuitively, and it almost works. Simon knows about this.
Yeah. Thank you. Go on.
Somebody else has raised a hand. Flora, I can't see the words. Flora, where is Flora? Flora?
Yes, I don't have
You don't have a picture. It's
camera.
okay.
Thank you for the reading. Thank you very much. I've heard you say somewhere before that you are working on a philosophy of time, have been for a while. And I was wondering where you are right now with that. If there is something, like any thought in the past little while that you could share with us, because I've been curious.
It won't have anything to do with what the philosophers say. I have
probably all the better.
I have become convinced that the dead are still alive, because they speak to me sometimes. I mean, quite literally. I've had that kind of experience. So I don't think that when we die, we die. But they're in a world without time, it would seem to me. And so that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about it from their point of view. And I'm hoping to get them to tell me how there is no time in death, but because I'm quite sure there is no time in death. I think we've invented time, but a lot of people have said that. It's a human invention. And if we were in another, I mean, if we were some other species, we wouldn't be thinking about time. If we were rocks, we would have a completely different viewpoint. If we were on another planet, if we were out in the universe, everything changes from that other point of view. Why bother thinking about time? It's all about the sun and the moon or something.
Would you say, following Flora's questions up, that this atemporalities, because I feel that in your poems is what the texture, the temporal texture of your poems are trying to
Well, it's what
mimic,
poetry
perhaps?
does. Poetry always sends you back up into the poem. It maintains itself as a kind of immortal entity, but I write these really long poems because I started out as a story writer. I started out inside fiction, and fiction is all about time. So I'm always juggling both because I know that we tell each other stories in order to stay alive, and that we maintain stories all the time, and that's how we do time. We do time with the stories we tell ourselves that about who we are and what we have to do.
Okay.
But that's what I'm in constant rebellion against as well. And
Would
there's a
you say that-
hole out. There's a keyhole, and this is the new thing that I'm thinking about. Instead of opening the door by putting a key in the keyhole, you go through the keyhole yourself. And I've had dreams about doing that, like becoming this entity who suddenly just goes through the keyhole and is on the other side of the door without having to open it.
Would you say that if you have the moments where you're beyond the story, so the personal story, all these layers that we, like you said today, that we kind of put on to not be so transparent, if we are outside of these stories for a little moment, that we can sense this reality outside of time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I go outside every day when I write, actually. It's one of the reasons why I write every day. Because while I'm writing, I'm outside. I'm outside it. And then I have to come back in. And I don't always want to do it.
Yeah.
But it's there. It's there in the moment of writing.
We've got another question, Alice. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Luma is asking from Sheffield, I was wondering if the repetitions in the language when pivotal words were being repeated was like a type of language folding, and if so, if
A
that
kind of language what?
folding, and if so, if that's to do with the wet rock layers at all.
The repetition is for pleasure. It's also to make to give a sense of form, and it's a way. I discovered quite a while ago that if I repeated something, I could keep the rhythm going, and I could still think of what to say next. So it's a dynamic principle. So if I say honey, liter honey, then while I'm saying it, the next thing to say comes to me. But I'm not doing it in the poems I read tonight. I'm not doing it consistently, like in every line or all the time or anything. I'm not trying to make anyone go into a trance.
Okay.
I'm just enjoying it.
Thank you. Beverly is the next one.
I'm really sorry, but I have to go. But Alice, I have to say, I love you. You taught my language. I absolutely love you.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay. Adam, do you want to go with the next question from Conrad still?
Yeah, Conrad's asking, he says that he loves the drawings you've been putting on Twitter. And could you talk a bit about how they're made?
Well, I joined Instagram, and you're supposed to post photographs, but I never take any. But then I also, when I bought my last mini iPad, I was cajoled into buying an Apple Pencil, and you write with and draw with the Apple Pencil in a certain file. It's the notes file, and then you can post it instantly as a photograph. So that was the impetus for it. And then I've always made art. And so I was instantly making these things that had both words and images on them. And there's supposed to be this book coming out, and it keeps being postponed. But the latest publication date is December 14th, and it's a book of the poem drawings. It's called Runes and Chords, if it comes out.
Yeah.
So everyone can see a collection of them. They go up to about a year ago, but I've continued to do them. I've done them now for about 2 years, year and a half, maybe.
Right, thanks. Okay.
Have we got any more questions?
Yeah, I've just got one quick question about in the poem that you wrote about living in France, Gift. You said that the French are conscious of emotional extremity, and that phrase actually comes up in Descent of Alette, where there's the leafless tree full of grinning heads, and part of what they're suffering from is emotional extremity. I was wondering what you thought poetry's relation, or rather your poetry's relation is to emotional extremity, and particularly the kind that the French was so wonderfully conscious of.
Well, I've lived a certain amount of emotional extremity, and I don't seek to put it into my poetry. But at this point, I probably seek to. I feel like I want to help people that are dealing with it themselves. But the French talk about anguish all the time. It's one of the, they have logic here and they have anguish here, and they do both. And there's something about the language itself that pulls certain feelings up out of your system when you speak it. I have 1 or 2 poems in French. There's one in For the Ride, and when I read it aloud, it's an entirely different experience from when I read English.
Mm-hmm.
It goes somewhere like way down here, and it comes up, and I shake. It's something the language can do, and I think it probably makes you be closer to certain aspects of extremity as a physical thing. But I mean, it happens to you when the people close to you die, or even when you're anguished in love. I mean, why should anyone have to go through this stuff? It's just, so I speak to that question sometimes, maybe often, because my brother suffered so much from having been in the Vietnam War. Why do people do this? But also, why has the universe imposed it on us? That's what I have to say.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Okay.
I think that's it. If nobody's got any further questions, I think can just say a really huge and warm thank you to you, Alice. We are absolutely honored and privileged. This was, I think, our sort of Christmas, or call it whatever you want, winter holidays present for us. And it's also St. Nicholas on the continent, so it's definitely my Santa present for today, just to be silly. But seriously, a really amazing opportunity for us to have you. We will have recorded this, and we'll be sending you the link. And it would be really awesome to see you in real in the near future, when all this COVID madness is over. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Just a couple of things, guys. Adam and I are in the middle of putting together the spring schedule, which is gaining shape now, but it will take us through January to come up with a concrete schedule for CPP. But I can say that if all goes well, Andrea Brady, Ansgar Allen, and Richard Parker will be reading, potentially in live at Sheffield in the very beginning of February. I know that Anne Boyer has accepted a reading online, so watch out for this, and there will be lots of other readings as well. We're very excited about the spring, but this was something beyond excitement to have Alice Notley with us tonight. Thank you.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Az.
Thank you. I haven't any idea of how to leave.
I'm going to stop the recording, Adam.
Okay, do that.